Welcome to QuickPulse Global, where we bring clarity to the most pressing issues shaping our world. What happens when the systems that ensure fairness vanish overnight? Law enforcement once relied on tools to expose misconduct and safeguard trust. But recently, a key tool was dismantled, and no one can explain why. Now, we face critical questions. Who benefits from its absence? What risks do marginalized communities face? These questions lay the groundwork for a crucial conversation about oversight, reform, and justice. The dismantled system wasn't just a bureaucratic checkbox, it was a lifeline that tracked patterns of misconduct. If an officer violating trust moved from one agency to another, the database followed them, ensuring accountability. Without it, who's left unprotected? Vulnerable communities, already disproportionately impacted, now face heightened risks while ethics take a back seat. Reform advocates view this as more than a setback. It's a threat to fragile progress. As transparency fades, trust dissolves, leaving us with a pressing question. Are we willing to let necessary safeguards vanish, or is it time to fight for equity on a systemic level? Imagine that database as a safeguard, a bridge between accountability and fair policing. Tearing it down doesn't just leave a gap, it dismantles decades of progress. Some say it was flawed, but reform was always the better option than abandonment. Ethical officers depended on this tool to protect their own integrity, separating justice from corruption. Without oversight, how can we distinguish those upholding fairness from those betraying it? Accountability fosters trust, and trust forms the foundation of safe and equitable communities. Without both, the fragile balance between law enforcement and public safety begins to crumble. This isn't just about preserving a system, it's about the shared values of transparency and justice that underpin our collective future. Reform has always depended on transparency and oversight, tools that create accountability. The now dismantled database was one such tool, built over years of advocacy. Its loss sparks fear. What happens when systems of trust erode? Without mechanisms to track misconduct, abuse flourishes. History reminds us that unchecked power often leads to widespread harm, especially in communities already at society's margins. These are the lives most deeply affected when safeguards disappear. Reform isn't simply laws or databases, it's collaboration. Citizens, advocates, and ethical officers working together create systems that prioritize justice over bureaucracy. The removal of this database risks undoing generations of hard-fought progress. Without it, we don't just gamble with safety. We risk a justice system that functions unequally. If leadership doesn't embrace adaptive solutions, the push for equitable policing won't just stall. It may revert, leaving communities to shoulder the cost of inaction. Removing this database wasn't progress, it was regression. Critics cite efficiency or cost concerns, but what's the price of trust? Marginalized communities, already facing the brunt of inequity, now contend with a greater threat of abuse. Ethical law enforcement officers lose a resource that ensured professionalism from their peers. Reform isn't about dismantling existing tools, it's about improving them. Independent review boards or more efficient reporting systems could strengthen oversight without sacrificing transparency. Accountability nurtures trust, and trust leads to truly safer communities. Opposing this reality risks reigniting old tensions, deepening mistrust between law enforcement and the public they serve. Sustainable reform involves listening to all voices, citizens, advocates, and officers alike. Progress demands that we resist the convenience of shortcuts while building structures to safeguard equity. True change isn't easy, but crucial change rarely is. Allowing accountability to erode endangers stability at every level. If we abandon oversight, we don't just lose a tool, we jeopardize the basic principles that should define justice. Can we afford to delay action any longer? Accountability is the foundation of trust, a principle rooted in the lived experiences of those most impacted by injustice. The now removed integrity system wasn't perfect, but it represented hope for a system that holds everyone to the same standard. Without it, not only do systems fail, but the voices of vulnerable communities fade into silence. These are the individuals who rely on bold, consistent reform to challenge systemic inequities. But reform isn't just about pointing to broken pieces. It's about improving the whole structure. Alternatives like anonymized reporting systems and updated processes represent a way forward. Policymakers have an opportunity to build a better framework, integrating ethical officers, advocates, and the public into the conversation. Oversight isn't about bureaucracy, it's about protecting rights, fostering resilience, and creating trust across generations. Leadership has the responsibility to create systems designed to adapt and thrive through challenge. Bold decisions now could position reform for lasting equity. The cost of inaction is far too high. We can't allow fear or convenience to undo decades of progress. Communities deserve integrity. Officers deserve structures that value honesty. And we all deserve a justice framework that sees equity as a non-negotiable. True policing reform isn't theoretical. It's happening now, but it could fail without the right tools in place to sustain it. The stakes are as high as they've ever been. This isn't just about preserving accountability, it's about creating a future where safety, fairness, and collaboration define what justice stands for. Thank you for watching QuickPulse Global, where conversations spark change. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Stay informed and join us as we tackle the complex issues of our time. See you next time.